Guys, today I'm going to make a bottle lamp. I've made a lot of these, and I've had a lot of my friends that show interest in making bottle lamps because they're way cool. And anyways, let's get right to it. There's going to be some supplies that you're going to need, so grab a pencil, paper, and make a list. All right, so some of the pipe you're going to need: two 9-inch 3/4 pipe, 6 3/4 by 4-inch. Now I want to show something on this pipe. Look at the difference here. The one in this hand is pipe that I bought from Lowe's or Home Depot or one of the hardware stores. The one in this hand is the garbage that you buy on Amazon. There's a hell of a price difference, but don't ever use this for water or plumbing repairs, as it's just for furniture building, etc. And it's Chinese made. So there you go. Moving on, you get 2-inch 3/4 nipple, a 5-way 3/4 fitting, I guess, coupler, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's not a 90, it's a 5-way. And you can get these on Amazon a hell of a lot cheaper than you can at your local hardware store. 1 3/4 coupler, 1 3/4 short nipple, 2 3/4 by 1-inch reducers, bushings, whatever the hell you want to call it, 3 3/4 by 1.25 bushings. Got 3 of them. I got 5 3/4 90s, not a street 90, a regular 90. And I wanted, again, here's that cheap garbage you buy on Amazon, and this is what you get when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot. This one plumbing, this one no. Moving on. 1-inch by 1.25 bell. You can use galvanized or pipe, doesn't matter, whatever's cheapest, because we're going to be painting it anyway. I got 1 3/4 base, and you'll see why I'm using this here in a minute. It's really cool. 1 3/4 T. Again, good pipe. 1 3/4 gate valve. And there's a reason for this, you'll see. So anyways, this is probably one of the most expensive things here. You'll see why. And I picked up just a pull knob. You gotta have yourself a bottle. I picked this bottle. I'm making this particular lamp for my stepdad, and they like vodka, and this bottle was given to me, and I think it's really cool, so I'm going to use it. Moving on. All right, so this is a rotary switch. You can buy these on Amazon all day long. They're also at Lowe's and Home Depot. When it comes to rotary switches, doesn't matter where you get them. They all work the same. I got 1 pull switch. This is a fan pull switch. So again, you can get them on Amazon a hell of a lot cheaper than you can Lowe's or Home Depot. Doesn't matter. These all have safety ratings on them, and they have to follow them. So there you go. I got 2 120 volt ceramic light sockets. Again, I bought a 6-pack, I think, on Amazon. Not very expensive at all. You need 1 3/8 plastic hose. You can buy this at Lowe's, Home Depot. Pretty cool. You'll see why. I got cord, just a regular 120 volt cord, because there is electrical in this. So now some of the tools. Oh, I forgot one thing. This is a 30-foot LED string light, 110 volt plug-in. It's important that you get the plug-in, that way you're not dealing with batteries. All right, and we'll get into all this in more detail later. All right, some of the tools. Just a pair of crimpers, a pair of strippers, a pair of dikes, wire cutters, whatever you want to call them. Got some butt connectors, bought them off of Amazon. You know, a lot of this shit you can get on Amazon a hell of a lot cheaper, and you can get bulk. So if you're going to build a lot of lamps, which I have, then it's good to buy it in bulk. Another important tool is a glue gun. Again, I bought this on Amazon. It's a Gorilla glue gun, and it's pretty badass, but you're going to need one. And I got a fluke meter or a DVOM. You can use any meter, but you're going to have to check your circuits, obviously, before you go plugging it into the wall. And if you have zero experience with electrical, then I suggest you YouTube other videos on white goes where, black goes where, et cetera, and how to test the circuits. I'll show you a few things while I'm going through this. And last but not least, get your favorite whiskey or beer, splash of Coke, and enjoy. Okay, so the first thing that I always do whenever I'm designing a lamp, and I've made different lamps, and I'll show you guys some video or pictures or something of the other lamps that I've made. I've posted them on TikTok. People love them. I mean, that's just a great addition to any bar, family room. Obviously, not many kids' rooms are going to have alcohol bottles in there. But anyways, first thing that I do is you got to have something in your mind, some kind of vision. What are you going to make? How are you going to make it look? Did you see something that you like somewhere else and you want to try to mimic it? So that's the first thing. I have already laid this out for this lamp. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I know how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to show you how to build this lamp, but you guys can literally do anything. I mean, sky's the limit. You can be super creative. You just got to be kind of careful of what you're doing, obviously with the electricity, but you also need to, when you're building these lamps and you're putting cords through them, you have to play it as if it's chess, because you have to think 4 or 5 steps ahead. And there's been many occasions that I put a lamp together and taken it apart 400 times, a little exaggeration there, until I get it right. That way it goes together perfect and stays tight, and it's a long-lasting lamp. Anyway, so I'm going to start with this 5-piece, this 5-hole. So I know that my lamp, I'm going to have 2 legs coming to the side. I'm going to have something coming out of the back and something coming out of the front. So what I like to do for the front and the rear, just for stabilization, is I don't use that Chinese shit. I use American good heavy steel, not this garbage that you buy from overseas. Not saying that they have all garbage, but again, that's not the stuff you want, you know, obviously for stability. So you just screw it in by hand. You don't have to get super tight because all this is coming apart again. So I put a 4-inch in the front, and for the rear, I'm putting the 2-inch in the rear. Okay, for the sides, I'm using the cheap shit, going 4-inch on both sides. Okay, so now we have our base, right? That's what it looks like. Hard to see when it's backwards on a camera, and I don't know how to do videos and shit all that well. But anyways, I'll point it to where this is the front to you. Okay, so now for the top hole, I already know that I'm going to use a 9-inch because I need to be as tall as the bottle. So got that on there. Now, again, with these 90s, I can't stress that enough. Look at the difference between that. Do you see how cheap shit this is and how bulky and good this is? Obviously, this one's for plumbing, this one's for furniture. I keep repeating that because it makes a difference. And whenever you're doing a lamp, you want it stable on the ground. You don't want some little kid grabbing it, pulling it over on them, because these lamps get heavy. This is all iron. This shit hurts when it hits you. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 90 on both sides. Actually, all three sides. And I'm just going to point it straight up. And again, it doesn't have to be super tight, just hand tight. Now, I'm going to put 90 on the front. I don't want it too loose though, because I want to be able to work with it. All right, so this is what we got. You see that? That's how it looks. Okay, again, this is the front, side, side, and this is the rear. Okay, so with the rear, the reason I'm leaving it like that, actually I'm going to put this coupler on there, because you want everything stable on the ground, right? Or table, or whatever the hell you're putting it on. So you want the thickness of your 90 and thickness of your coupler all the way around to be exactly perfect, exactly level. That way it does not move. It's common sense, and if I'm talking down to you, I apologize. That's not the intention here. It's just sometimes you got to pay attention to that shit. Don't want it to bite you later. All right, so now we got the front towards you, and we are going to go ahead and put our 3/4 by 1.25 bushing on. Just screw it on. Now, this is kind of the tricky part here, because what I'm doing is I'm actually going to put a valve on one of these sides to turn the LED lights on that are in the bottle. And the other side, I'm actually going to put the pull switch. That way it can turn on these two lamps, which you can't see yet. So doing this backwards is a little difficult, but I'm going to screw it on, and I'll show you kind of what I'm seeing here, or what I'm doing, and you guys will pick up on it pretty quick. I'm going to take another 4-inch and put here. I'm going to take a 9-inch and put it here. You guys with me so far? Pretty simple. You must take a drink every now and then. It helps doing this YouTube shit a lot better. Okay, now I'm going to take another 1.25 by 3/4. I'm going to put on top. Four-inch will go on top of that. Now it's getting too damn tall for the camera. Okay, 1.25 by 3/4. Going to put into the side. And again, we're going to have to break all this down anyway, because we got to paint it. Okay, 3/4 to 1 inch. You're going to put the small end, obviously the 3/4, on the 3/4 pipe, just like so. Sometimes you put real pipe with this cheap Chinese shit, and it's really difficult to screw on because the threads are not exactly right. Now we're going to get our 1.25 bell, 1.25 by 1 inch bell, because that's all that Lowe's had. Must be Rush's fault. It's got to be. So put that on there on this side. Now we're going to do the same on the short side. 1 inch by 3/4. Screw it on. We got our 1.25 by 1 inch. Screw it on. Okay. Now we got our short 3/4, and we're going to put it right here on the bottom, out of camera's way, Just screw it down in there like so. Okay. Now, this wonderful piece right here. Everybody's going, why the hell do you need that? Because I'm going to screw it on the bottom like so. Okay. Again, nothing has to be tight, nothing has to be square at this point. All we're doing is a rough template of what our lamp's going to look like. Okay. I took a 4-inch and that shitty 90 and screwed them together. Okay. 3/4 90, the good one, goes right here on top. Like so. Okay. Now, we'll take the 4-inch, screw it in here. Like so. And it's best whenever you build all this shit, when you get it tight, then you're going to use a pipe wrench. Now, I want to give you guys a visual on what we got going on here. And it's going to be really hard to see. I'm going to push the camera back a little bit. Coming down. All right. So the lamp is going to be this right here. Okay. And again, nothing is square. I don't want anybody judging me, any of that crap. So the lamp, the bottle will sit just like this. Your ceramic 110 will go into these bells. Feed them in there like so on both sides. And then the LEDs will actually come out of here, out of the spigot, and go into the bottle. And there's lots of clever ways that you can do this. I'm actually on this one, I'm going to leave the lid open just because it gives it a little bit more creativity. And one thing I forgot to bring out here is baling wire. So, because baling wire is going to be a big part of this one. All right. Now, this valve comes apart. And a lot of people don't realize it. Sorry. Jeez. Plastic is stronger than the shit that you buy, I swear. Anyways, if you take a look at this valve, let me move this out of the way so you can see what the hell's going on. But now you have your general concept of your lamp, right? Pretty simple. Well, that's the easy part. Take a look at this valve. If you look right here, this actually unscrews from the bottom half. So you need to get a pair of channel locks or a wrench that fits that exactly. I have one. Obviously, I'm not going to do this on my kitchen table. I do have a vise in my shop that I will go ahead and take this valve apart because this is a very important piece to this, and I want to show you what we're going to do. So hold on. Okay, so that valve, this is what it looks like. It took a 3/4 wrench, and I just unscrewed this part right here, and then it comes right apart, just like that. So you see that? Now this part, donate it, go get a beer, I don't give a shit. You don't need it. This part is the important part, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to take this piece here, and you're going to unscrew it. But keep in mind, these are reverse threads, okay? So it's like you're putting it on, but you're actually taking it off. Take this piece off, see? You don't need it. Now, all you have is this right here, okay? It turns, and it has this piece here, okay? Now, what do you think this is for? And this. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this on here, And I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, and then I'm going to pull it back apart anyway. And then our rotary switch. Okay, you with me? You actually need to force that on there, which I'm not going to do right now because it's a real pain in the ass to get off. And then that way, whenever you turn this, it turns your rotary switch. This is going to turn on and off your LEDs into the bottle. And this is going to be mounted into here. Okay, so let me pull this back off real quick. 3/4 threads. It's going to go right into here. And it literally screws in. Okay, I would like to point out that just because it screws in and it's taut, it is not tight. And it's a different thread pitch. So that's where the glue is going to come in handy, because when I'm ready to put this part together after I wash and paint it, then I will put this in, I will literally pull the bushing off, and I will glue completely around it. That way, that is solid and it will not move, because sure enough, you're going to get somebody that's going to grab it and they're going to twist shit, and then it's going to break inside, and it's a real pain in the butt. Anyways, so that's the gist of that. So I'm going to pull this back out, set it to the side because you don't need it for a minute. And get all my electrical here, all that. I'm going to get my ceramic. These are ceramic, by the way. I don't recommend metal. You can use metal, but ceramic is a better insulator. And if something were to go wrong, this is all iron. You definitely don't want to get your ass zapped. That'd be a bad day. Or worse, have a little kid or something zap themselves. So I'm going to pull all these back off. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I need to figure out, all right, what do I need to paint, and what are the fewest steps that I can take in disabling this lamp, or dismantling this lamp, if you will, so that I can wash and paint everything and get it tight. So obviously I can pull both these sides off, and I can pull them off right at the base because it's easy to feed wires. So I'll pull these off. I will get them super tight because you don't want them coming apart. And then I will wash them, and wash them with soap and water. Dawn dish soap works great because there's an oil residue on all this. So I'm going to do these two pieces and I'll be right back. All right, while those pieces are drying, I hand wash them with Dawn dish soap in my sink, and I have them hanging outside to dry before I paint them. This is what I use to paint. I don't know if you can read it, but it's hammered paint. It's black. I've used gray. I've done pink, blue, teal. It really is your preference. Whatever room you're going into, you can paint the lamp to match. The reason I went with this color is because the bottle, I wanted it to match the bottle. It's kind of rustic, and the black inside, the black inlays, will match the pipe, and that way people will look more at the bottle, the lamp, than they actually will the rest of the lamp, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Anyways, so while they're drying, I'm going to go ahead and continue on here. You noticed I took the pieces off. And now I need to think, okay, well, what's going to be the next step? Well, we know that this here is where our wires are going to come out. Okay, you're going to have two sets of wires, one for the LEDs and one for the two bulbs that are going to be in place. So I know that I need to run my wires all the way up here, and they're going to have to come through this switch, and the LEDs are going to have to come all the way through and then down through the bottle. Down through the bottle, if it makes sense. So I know that this piece here, this 90, I can pull it apart, and it'll be semi-simple to put back together with wires. One thing I want to point out too is before I wash them, I tighten them with the pipe wrench, but I did not go so tight to where you're trying to stop leaks because it don't need to be. If you can't take it off by hand easily, that's tight enough. You don't need to give yourself a hernia, pop a vein, anything else. Just get it tight. You don't want, again, little kids grabbing it, or if it hits the ground, chances are you'll break the bottle, but the lamp won't twist and turn and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so I pulled this piece off. I'm just going to leave it all together just like this. That way I'm not having to do shit 15 times. Now this piece here, I'm going to pull this piece off because this is going to be kind of a tricky one, if you will. We literally have to pull it all apart because we have to install our switches in here. So I'm going to take that piece off, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave this bushing on here because I think it'll work best if I did it that way. So basically what's going to happen is I'll run my wires in here, I'll bring them up through here, and I'll have plenty of slack, and then you have to run all of your pipes over the wires and then get everything tight without twisting the shit out of the wires too bad either, because you definitely don't want it biting you, like I said before. So this piece here is just a base. I'm literally going to put glue here, and I'm actually going to put some wire around here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. But for the time being, we need to get this piece pulled off and washed and painted as well. So I'll just pull it off. I know, exciting, right? Watching somebody screw pipe. All right. Get it pulled off, set to the side. I'll tighten it, and then I'll paint it. And then this piece here. So again, there really is nothing more that we need to pull apart. Just need to make sure that it's tight, that it's clean, and then you can wash it and paint it. So there you go. Got 3 pieces here, and this piece, we're not done with this one yet. So hang on. All right, guys, it's been overnight. I painted all the parts after I washed them, made sure they were tight. Everything is good to go on that. So just to kind of show you guys what's happening here. So yeah, different outfit, different day, different everything. Anyways, so our next step is going to be this bad boy right here. Now I did keep one of the pieces off. This is the base. Obviously it screws into here. And then now we get to somewhat tricky stuff. Just so you know, it is best to let your paint dry overnight. That way it's not tacky at all, because you'll end up making a mess over everything when it is. So, okay, so this is going to sit on the base just like this. And we're going to have our valve in here just like this. So what we got to do now is we got to figure out, because there's some drilling involved, we got to figure out where are we going to put our switches. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to screw this bushing down even more, get it tighter, and then I'm going to put this in, but I can't put this in quite yet. So we're going to get our rotary switch right here. And now we got to figure out how deep this is going to sit in this fitting. So if you look in here, you're going to put this switch in here and then look through the center of the hole. It's really hard to see. But anyways, you want this as center as possible, but you also want the switch to touch the back, all the way back. And I can't show you, I guess, but similar to that. And then, because what we're going to do after we get our length is we're going to take the hot glue gun, and after we install this and get the switch all the way back, then we're going to glue it. Here's where the tricky part's going to come in. So it's going to sit on your base just like this, valve in here. Now, you want to take your pull switch and you actually want to put it just opposite. And it's up to you if you put it high or if you put it low, but you can't put it in the middle, obviously, because the other switch is going to be touching it. So what I like to do is I like to run my wires straight down because they're going to be going into the other two legs. But before I do that, I've already determined that I'm going to go ahead and put my switch right here. Now, when you look at the T, you're going to see that line. That line you can kind of use as a guide. It'll make everything look uniform and it'll look good when it's done. So I'm going to go low, but I can't go so low that I'm going to get into the bushing, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come up about a 1/2 inch and I'm going to drill a hole just big enough for this to go through. Before I do that, I'm going to take my grinder and I'm actually just going to make a flat spot here. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, that way whenever I go to drill, which I have a drill press, so I'm cheating a little bit, but you can use a hand drill, whatever's easiest. I'm going to make a flat spot. That way when I start drilling, it doesn't wander off and go to one side or the other. Also, if you look at this pull switch, this is actually a nut. So you unscrew it, and then it's going to go through this T, and when it does, you're going to screw it back on, but you're only going to be able to get about 4 threads, 5 threads on it and make it tight. It doesn't need to be stupid tight because literally it's just a pull switch, and this is going to be glued in place also. So I'm going to take a break from this for a quick second. I'm going to grind my my T, and I'm going to drill my hole. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're drilling your hole, what I like to do is I'll get a drill bit and I'll run it through a plastic bottle or a piece of plastic, something, and then use that as a template for this, because you want to barely go through the hole. You don't want to oversize the hole because then your switch is loose, and every time you pull on it, it won't work correctly. So that takes a little bit of time, but not terrible. I already have a template made for my other lamps. So anyways, I'll be back. Okay, so here's my hole, and the lighting sucks in here, but you see how I kind of made that flat? Now you're going to take your switch and feed the chain through, just like so. Okay, now do you see how much is sticking out? That's quite a bit, and that's good. That's what you want. Because then, I'll show you real quick. Then we're going to feed the chain through the nut. Maybe, can't get my fingers to work. Just had carpal tunnel surgery, so just so you guys know, it's extremely painful on my right arm. But if I can do it almost one-armed, then anybody can build these lamps. They're fun to do. They're great projects with your kids or whatever, and the end result is going to be pretty cool. So anyways, that's what she looks like. Obviously, whenever it's all put together, this will be on this side. So this is going to turn on the lamps. This, again, is going to be your LEDs. I want to point something out real quick here. On this valve, whenever you pull it apart, when you go to Home Depot or whatever, sometimes these are so stupid tight you can't even hardly turn them. And you don't want that either. You want it just nice and easy. You want it to where a little kid can turn the lamp on without much strength. So the way to solve that, if it's super tight, is this nut right here. Just loosen it. That's all you got to do. Loosen it, and it won't be tight anymore. You want it tighter, then tighten it, but I would go ahead and loosen it. That way everything is free and works great. So, all right, so back on this. So now the next step, we already know where this is going, and we got our hole drilled, got everything flattened out. So the next step then is just like the other pieces. I'm going to wash everything with soap and water, and I'm going to paint it. Now, fortunately, I live in the desert and it's hotter than balls out, so it won't take long to dry whatsoever. So I will tighten these two pieces. Actually, I'm not going to tighten this one. I'm going to paint this separate. And the reason why is because we still have to install our valve after it's cleaned and painted. So anyways, I will tighten this and I will wash this with soap and water, and then I will paint it, and I'll be right back with that. Okay, while that is drying, we're going to start running some preliminary wires. So we're going to get this cable, or this cord, that I pointed out earlier. And keep in mind, this cord is only for the two side lamps. So wherever they come together, this is where you have to keep in mind everything. This is where the wires come in, and then the legs come up here, and then one comes up here. So knowing that, this cord is only going to feed these two, okay? The LEDs are going to go through the middle. But right now, all we care about is the cord. So I'm going to try to go over this as easy as I can. I guess difficulty level on this build is probably an 8 or a 9. Chances are, if you're even watching this, no matter male, female, it doesn't matter. You're smart enough to know tools and basic electricity. Don't have to get too crazy. So what I did is, of course, like I said, I've been doing this a minute. I went ahead and got me some extra wire, and I got black and white because, as everybody knows, whenever you go to buy a lamp or anything, you can look at this, black and white, you just match color on color. The trickiest part is knowing which side do you put on your plug. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you look at your plug, one side is fatter than the other side. The fatter side is your hot, always. Hot in electricity is black. Not always, but in this particular situation. And if I have an electrician watching me, you have any comments, suggestions, anything, let me know. I'm not going to solder these ends. I'm going to crimp these ends with heat shrink fittings. There's not enough amperage to actually start a fire or anything else in these lamps. So, all right. So what we need to do then is we're going to run our wires through here. And I'm just going to start on one. It doesn't matter. And I'll just run the wire all the way through, kind of pain in the butt since it was rolled up. And feed it through. There you go. And almost. Once you get it through, then you can go to the other side. So I'm going to pause it here for a second. All right, so I ran the wires through. Noticed I left a tail here and a super long tail here, and there's a reason for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to splice these wires with one of the sockets, but I'm going to leave the length of the cord here. That way it's nice and deep down in here, and actually it's almost all the way out to the end, which is fine. So I might take like an inch off, and the reason for that is so that the butt connector is far enough back. So it's a good idea. You can buy this stuff at Home Depot, Lowe's. I'm a mechanic for a living, so those are crimpers you can't buy there, but you can buy these strippers / crimpers there if you wanted to. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and just strip these two wires here real quick, and that way I can get them butt connected and show you how I do it. And I'm not going to give you the lengthy process of going color on color because it's pretty simple, but I get these stripped. And again, I encourage the butt connectors with the heat shrink on it, because obviously you don't want any bare metal hanging out. This is a wrought iron lamp, and it'll hurt if you get bit. So there's that. Twist the ends here real quick. I'll just do one just to show you what I do. Now, of course, there's different color codes for everything, and for this size wire, I'm going to go ahead and use my red. If I can find the hole. Sorry. Just put your butt connector over it. It's going to be a snug fit. And then I'm going to, like I stated earlier, I'm actually going to cut a couple inches back off of this, just for the sole purpose that the butt connectors are going to be hidden back here whenever I pull the wire all the way through, and that way they're not where I need to be screwing together. So cut a couple inches off, and I'll go ahead and cut my white, or strip my white, and I am blind. And this makes the carpal tunnel feel real good. Okay, got it stripped. Again, color match, self-explanatory, does not take a rocket scientist. If you can find the hole. Got it in the hole. Got my handy dandy crimpers. And then get the other side. Like so. Notice nice and tight, not coming apart. Pause 1 second. Okay, I do not recommend using this in the house, but I kind of have to because my small torch is out of butane and I haven't gotten any butane yet. But this, you could also use a lighter if you're a smoker. You can use a lighter on this. I like to use this because lighters leave black residue. So get it turned down, and you can just watch me here. Apply a little bit of heat to the heat shrink. Careful not to get the wire. Just like so. And that's it. So that's how you do one of them. Not going to touch it. It's obviously hot, but it's nice and tight. It's a good, secure fit, and this camera sucks. Bear with me. But there you go. No issues whatsoever. There's no bare metal hanging out, so you're nice and safe. So I'm going to pause it at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and do my other wire, and I'll run my other wires through the long piece here, and I will get those butt connected, and then we will glue our sockets in place. Okay, a couple things here. I lied to you guys. This cord actually has to come up through the center, to go to the switch. I completely spaced that. But anyways, so with that being said, I went ahead and ran my wires and pulled them tight and got my socket in place, but it's not glued. So to glue it, we're going to pull it out just a little bit. We're going to put our glue around it, and then we're going to put it tight. Pull our wires tight, don't yank them, just pull them taut. Make sure you're square here, and then one socket will be done. On the other side, same way. I went ahead and got everything pulled through. Everything's still loose. So we'll glue here in a minute and get this out of the way. We're going to work on our center section now. You notice I'm leaving all the tails on right now because everything has to tie together, obviously. And so this is going to go right to the switch, to the pull switch. And then from the pull switch, it's going to go in the other way. Now, to wire in a switch, normally all you're doing is taking your black wire, and that is going to be your switch. So we have to supply power to the pull switch. On the other side of the pull switch, so black is going to go to one side of the pull switch, And then this will go to black on both the legs. And the white will stay constant. It's common ground, if that makes sense. We'll go over it. Don't let it confuse you yet. So right now I'm just going to take my cord and I'm going to feed it through here, which, you know, not going to lie, sometimes it can be a real pain in the ass to get it through the holes. That's why we do this in sections. Otherwise you'll never get it done. So push through. Now, got it here. I got plenty of tail, as you can see. I have to have tail because now I've got to put this with the switch that is drying in paint and install the switch. Okay, so I'm going to leave this alone right now, throw another coat on, and then we'll get back to this. So 1 second. Okay, while the paint is drying, the second coat's drying on the other pieces that I need, we're going to go ahead and glue these in place. Pretty simple if you know how to use a hot glue gun. Score. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull it up to where it's just out of the hole. And the reason for that, obviously, is because I want to get glue all the way around, and then I'm going to put it back in, and then I'm going to put another splash of glue, if you will, on the top side. That way this thing absolutely 100% does not move. So my connections are holding me up. There we go. All right, I don't know if my glue gun's hot yet. And I'm right-handed and I got it on my left side, so fun. So it is not hot yet. So hang on. All right, pretty warm now. We'll see. Try it. Anyways, I know you can't see it. Kind of shitty angle. But I'm getting right inside this hole here. Almost still isn't hot enough. I'm going right on the threads. It's a fairly tight fit. That's why I go 1.25 inches on these, because I want it to be tight in there. All right, there we go. Now we're cooking with bacon grease. Okay, you can see that. I put it in there quickly before she pulls off. I pull taut, just like so. Okay, now realistically, that will more than likely work just fine. You can see it ain't going anywhere. It's pretty square, but me being me, I always like to put just a little bit more on the outside. And that way, there's absolutely no chance. Of course, I've run out of stick here. No chance for anything to come apart. Of course, there's no exact science to this. Just you guys, in fact, are probably a lot better with a glue gun than I will ever be. I'm not a professional gluer. I just play one on YouTube. Go around just like so. Make sure that it's all even. And quite honestly, they're not going to see the ring of glue on the top whenever you get your lamp done. So that's pretty much it. We're nice and solid. Blow on it just a little bit, cool it off. It cools pretty fast. And then we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to glue the other side in and I'll be right back. Okay, I got these glued in. As you can see, my string, again, ain't going anywhere. It's pretty square. You don't have to put a level on it or anything like that, because the lampshades that I use are the clip-on lampshades, and you can literally, you can skew the view, if you will. Okay, so with these on and this cable in and those other pieces are just about ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut some of this wire here, and I'm going to actually feed it down because it's going to come from the switch, and then everything is going to butt connect into this four-way piece. And the cool thing about having this going out the front where the bottle is going to be sitting on, if you need to shove wire in there to hide the crimps and all that good stuff, then that's a perfect place to do it. You obviously don't want to pinch your wires. You want them to be in a comfortable position whenever you're putting them in. Don't ever do a sharp squeeze. Always do like a loop, so you're always going to want your wire sitting in your pipe like that, but never squeeze it together, because then that's a chance the wire could break, especially if it's on for long periods of time, it gets hot, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave enough on the bottom here so that I have something to work with. So I'll leave a couple inches, cut this off, get this out of my road, and then it's easier to feed from the top down to the bottom. So feed it down. Kind of a pain in the butt. Just like so. And again, all I'm doing is making room. Okay. Gotta grab my pliers here because it's being a pain in the butt. Pull it up. Okay. So I got a nice long tail on this side, and I got a tail short enough on this side to where I can still work with it. You can always cut excess wire. There's no exact measurement on this. So, and this one obviously is going to be just a touch higher, so I left the tail just a little bit longer. You can see the wires. And let me see if the other pieces are dry, and then we'll get back after it. All right, we're back. Pieces are dry now. Actually, they're a little bit tacky, but they're still, I can work with it, so it's all good. Also had to get a beverage. For those under 21, it's Coke. All right, so let's get going here. Now, I got all my wires ran through. So basically, next thing I need to do is I need to start wiring the switches. I'm going to start with the push-pull switch just because it's right there and easy enough to show. So, as you know, I drilled the hole. This is facing down. I'm going to feed the chain through, and I'm going to put my switch in like so. Hold the back side, run my chain through, and put on here. Now, one thing I want to take notice is the way this switch is positioned in here. I don't know if you can see it. See that? I need to turn it because I'm going to put my bushing in there. I need to loosen my nut a little bit. And then turn it just like so. Tighten the nut. Now you see how it's flat. Okay? There's no glue needed in this step. Okay. Test it, make sure it works. All is good. All right. Now, like I said, this is going to be your main hot. And I'm going to show you guys how to check and see which one is hot and which one is not. If you have a meter, it is the best, quickest, easiest way to do this. Especially something with a diode checker that beeps at you, because we're not reading ohms, we're not doing any of that crap. All we're doing is testing the circuit. So I took my cutters, I split the cable just a little bit. Gonna pull it apart. Give myself plenty of room to work here. Okay, on this end, we have the plug. This end, the two wires. Now I'm gonna get my meter. And as y'all can tell, I'm no professional at YouTubing, so there's that. So I put it on diode checker, so it'll beep if the circuit is complete. What I'm trying to establish right now is which one's hot and which one's not. So this one here is obviously my negative. Show you guys. See, it's on the short end of the plug, and I'm on my wire. Okay. Now that I know this one is my common ground, or the white, I'm just going to fold it in half, just to identify it, just for me, just for my own sole purpose. So the way to wire these switches is just like a house switch, literally. Anytime you put a switch in a circuit, all you're doing is you're splitting your hot wire. That's it. So because this is my hot wire, I'm going to put this from the wall into one side of the switch, and then the other side of the switch is going to feed this, which is going to feed the lamps. So get my hot, make sure. Now on this one I use blue because it's a little bit bigger and I want to be able to go over the sheath. Again, you don't want any exposed wires because then things zap and it's no good for anybody involved. So got that there. Tighten it. And I'm going to go into one side here. Now because the blue, this is actually a small wire, so it's red. I don't know if you can see it. So what I do is I take the end of it, just the very end. I know it's super hard to see because my camera sucks ass and I suck ass at doing this. Let me try to get you closer here. Okay, I don't know if that helped, but do you see how the wire, how I bent it? I'm going to fold it back into itself, and that way it fits tighter into here. Notice my sheath is underneath the heat shrink. I crimp. Life is good, right? So now what I want to test, because this is my hot, I'm going to put one end on this side and the other end, I think I just did it backwards. I sure did. So that's supposed to be my ground. Okay, nope, I did it right. Sorry, brain fart. Okay, hot to hot. See how it beeps? I'm going to pull my switch. No beep. That's the way it's supposed to work. Pull my switch, beep. So now I'll take this other end. Like I said, hard to see. Come down a little bit. And my hot wire, only need one hot wire at this point, and I'm going to put these two together. Okay? So strip it. Okay, get my blue. A lot of repetitive stuff. Takes a little time to build these lamps. It takes even longer to master them. First one I built, I must have taken it apart and put it together 500 different times. I have some really cool ones. I have some that rotate. I have, different whiskeys like Jack Daniels and Jack Fire and Gentleman Jack. Can you tell I like Jack? Anyways, so I'm going to do the same on this side. Twist your wire first. I'm going to fold the edge over just a little bit. That way everything is snug. Goes in, crimp, And again, before you put any heat on anything, you need to check your circuit. So I'm going to go to the hot side of my plug. Just all I do is just stick it in there. And I'm going to take my other one and I'm going to check this side of the wire on the back side. Got it. Pull the switch off. Life is good. We are good to move forward. Okay. So now I'm going to heat these up and get them out of my way. Turn it down so I don't burn my house down. A lot of people don't do this. A lot of people use wire nuts. I don't like using wire nuts and lamps because they can come apart when you're trying to pull them through. Anything can happen. A natural freaking disaster cause your wire nut to come off, and then pretty soon your lamp is now completely electrified. And that might be good for killing bugs, but not recommended for humans. So, all right, so I got those shrunk down. Nice and tight fit. My switch is good, so that part is good. Now, this gets a little bit tricky with the white because white is the common, white never stops, right? The only thing that we put into the switch is the hot wire because that's what you're supposed to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just literally going to hook my common ground into this side of the wire, which goes into the wall. Okay, you with me? So I'll put these two together, and then that way this circuit is now complete, or will be here in just a second. So pull it off. Sorry if this is boring as hell. Again, I'm going to get blue. I need to strip that one back just a little bit more, just so I feel good about it. Yeah, a little tight. There's some really cool strippers at work that are not these. Anyway, just put it in one side. And by the way, the lamps that I'm making are for sale. And something like this has approximately $150 cost into it, not including labor. And with labor, a lamp like this I would charge $250 for. Had them for sale on Etsy. The bank collapsed, so I pulled them off Etsy, closed my Etsy account because I don't feel like dealing with that crap. I do advertise them on TikTok, and I can make you a lamp special order. So it also depends on what kind of booze bottle you want to use. Obviously, if there's something high dollar, $1,000 bottle, well, you can pay for that. Or pay me for it, and then I'll get it. But I find that more people, instead of wanting to purchase these, they want them as gifts. It's kind of like owning a boat. The two best days to own a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. Well, I only make lamps for free for certain people. Everybody else can get off their wallets. Because we work hard for our money, don't we? Okay. Now, what I normally do is I get some tape, some electrical tape, and I tape this together because I don't want a big old mess. Okay? But don't just take your wires and put them together with your fingers and then tape it, because not only does it look like shit, it's unsafe. So I'll be right back. Okay, real quick, just want to point out I screwed up because I forgot to put my bushing in, and my plug doesn't fit through my bushing. So I had to cut everything, put my bushing in, and I'm also going to run my LED wires real quick because I forgot that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. but this is what they look like when you get them. And comes in a roll like this, and trust me, it's going to look pretty crazy when we get into this part. Anyways, I have to run these wires through, and because it's going through the bottle, it also has to come out the side here. So it's going to come into my switch, and then it has to come up through here, and then it's got to go down into the bottles. But we have to cut this in order to make all that happen. Anyways, I'm going to run my wires through here real quick, and I'll explain what I did. Okay, I'm back. Apparently, I lost a bunch of video. I wasn't very technically smart, apparently. But anyways, show you what I did here. I went ahead and got all my wires hooked up, and I got them ran down through the pipe. And that's kind of a pain in the butt, but you just got to feed it down. Another thing that I did is I went ahead and glued my switch to the back side of the other switch so it's center in the hole. It's important that it's center in the hole. So right now I got this part pulled apart because I want to show you guys how to do the hose next for our switch. So anyways, we got our valve. I just screwed it in there finger tight. And again, these threads are different pitches. It's not going to stay. So I'm only doing this so I can get a measurement of my hose. The best way that I've found to do this is just by taking a pin, and I'm going to put the pin about halfway down this rod here for the switch, just to give me a template, right? So I'm going to go, all right, so I'll take this here, I will screw it into place, and I'm not going to go tight, I'm just going to go hand tight. Take my pin, my template, I'll go about halfway down the rod, and then I will just mark it with my finger. This is not an exact science by any stretch of the means. Take my hose here, and now I have my distance. I have my length. So I'm going to take a pair of dikes or scissors or whatever you got, and I'm just going to snip my hose just like so. That's it. So this should be a good distance here, because when this is screwed into here, this will be screwed all the way up into here. See that? Which, by the way, these valves are counterclockwise. You can either push it on or you can hang on to this and turn your valve counterclockwise. And you see how it's actually screwing the hose onto it. So I'm going to get it screwed all the way on, just like so. And then now in my past lamps, I have put a drop of glue in there, but it's really not necessary. As long as this is loose, it's not going to come undone from the switch inside, if that makes sense. So the next thing we need to do is pull our bushing back off. This is kind of a bear sometimes. So now I'm going to glue these two pieces together. Get it. All right. Now I'll get my hot glue gun. I'm going to put some glue on the inside here, and then I'll screw it down hand tight. And then I will put a few drops of glue on the inside just to hold it in place. You got to be quick when you do this. So, because the glue likes to dry super fast. And I'm not scared to use glue. Okay. Because if you're not fast, then what happens is it hardens up just like it just did on me. And now I got to get a wrench and tighten it all the way down. Okay, so I took my wrench, tightened it down. See how nice and flush that is? Moves freely. Come on the bottom. See my hose moves. Look inside. There's glue inside. So let that set just a minute because you're going to have to apply some pressure to get it onto the switch inside. Okay, so this is where it's going to get fun. I let this dry a few minutes. I think we're good, nice and tight. So what I'm going to do now, handy dandy little WD-40. I'm just going to put a touch inside this hose to help it slip over because it's tight. Fortunately, the hose is, not the hose, but the thing is slotted. So when it gets on there, it's on there. So I'm going to put my finger on the back side of the switch and then I'm going to push pressure and get it started. And then more fun begins. So I got my finger on here, line it up, push down, and try to get a thread in. Okay, feel the thread. Now I got to hold this and turn the bushing because I don't want the switch to sit there and click 500 times. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Sorry for the shaky camera, is what it is. Okay, now I'm hand tight, but I'm tight. Okay, and then turn it and you'll hear a click. Okay, now test it. Already have an outlet ready. On, off, on, off. Simple, right? Simple, but a pain in the ass. So moving on, I'm going to unplug. Also, just so you know, when I did the wires for these, the amperage is so low that a diode checker won't even check it. Fortunately, the cable on these wires, one of them has stripes on it and one of them does not. So you just put stripe with stripe, and I use the stripe as the hot side because this isn't a conventional plug on these. So I put the stripe on the switch the same way we did the other switch, and then the other one I left as a common, ran it down through, went to the plug, and there's our result. Again, super low voltage. These things are really cool because you can put them in water. You can't splice them, but you can put them in water. You can put them anywhere, literally anywhere. And they're pretty resilient. So, okay. Next thing we're going to do now is I'm going to screw these two pieces together. And the way that I normally do that is, you see my wires here? See how they're twisted? So I'm going to go back in a counterclockwise motion and let them twist a little bit. I don't want them tight. I don't want them stretching. And the reason for that is because when I go to tighten this, see that? When I go to put it together and now twisting it, it's going to untwist the other way. And there's no pressure. There's no anything bad, right? It's not stretching any wires. Everything is normal. Again, hand tight. Whenever I put the other two legs on here, we're actually going to put a wrench on here and we're going to get it tight and clocked in the position that we need it so the lamp looks good. All right. 1 second. Okay, So the way this lamp is going to be set up is the valve is actually going to be on this side here. So with the valve on this side, the way I designed it, and you can do whatever you want, but I didn't want the long side on the same side as the valve, obviously. So the short side will be on the valve, like so, and then the long side over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these wires all the way through, and I'm going to screw this in. That way this side is done. Almost done. And right through here, if it cooperates with me. Just like so. Same concept. Just screw it. It's kind of a balancing act when you start building these things, because it gets to where you have to hold and twist and do a bunch of things, and a lot of cussing involved sometimes. Of course, I'm on my kitchen table. I can't put a bunch of pressure on this, but I'm going to come all the way around with it without cutting wires. And again, being on my kitchen table, I'm kind of limited on what I can do here. So I'm going to grab a wrench real quick and get this twisted. Okay, got it twisted. It's important at this point to where you try to get it pretty square, which it's still not. There you go. That way it doesn't look like shit when you're done. Okay, so we got that one done. I'll show you here. We got our wires. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these wires back just a little bit. And all I'm going to do is twist them together with my fingers for the time being. And the reason why is because whenever we put the other leg on, then we got to use big connectors, because we're literally putting all of these together now. And this wire needs to go into the inside of this leg so that when everything is spliced and done, it's going to be about right here, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And this is where it can get kind of tricky, because now you're bunching wires up. So let me get that trimmed and I'll show you. Okay, before I hook this side up, I went ahead and put this on here just for stability purposes. But I wanted to show you guys, I've got two wires going into one here, and I'm using the yellow connector. I believe that's for 10 to 8 gauge. Anyways, when I trim these back, you notice I left the tails. There's a reason for that. And when I trim these back, I trim them back long. Earlier in the video, I showed you guys, whenever you're putting a wire into a bigger connector, you always take and fold one end of it so it makes up the difference. So I'm doing the same thing here. Just make up the difference. And that way, again, match your colors, white and black. White and black here. That way it's all the same. Nothing ever changes. Put that one in there. Get it crimped real quick. Really difficult to do after you have carpal tunnel surgery. Kind of hurts. Put that one in there. Okay, those are nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink these connectors, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, as you can see, I got my connectors all heat shrinked. They're still a little warm to touch, but they're fine. Okay, so what I wanted to show you, and the reason why I left tails on here, is because now you got to sit here and you got to put these back in here. But sometimes if you just fold it against itself like this and then push it in here, you still have your loop, so you're not pinching wires, and you can get both right down the pipe just like so. And as I do every other time, we're going to twist just a little bit. And then start our thread. That don't feel like it started correctly. That's that cheap Amazonian shit, or Amazon pipe. Just FYI, I will never buy that pipe again. It's cheap, but it's junk. But for this, it'll be just fine. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead, put it in. Okay. Now again, this doesn't have to be super tight, and the reason why is because, number one, it's a lamp, so nobody should be touching it anyway. But this is where we are at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take it into my shop, and I'm going to make everything square. And what I mean is I want to turn my valve to the short side, make sure it's nice and tight, and I'm going to turn this bottom piece here, turn it up to where it's supposed to be, get the lamp to where it's sitting level, and then we'll move on. Okay, so here's the lamp. Got everything tight. It's not 100% yet, and won't be until you get everything more put together. Like this piece right here, I can tell you is not square. There you go. Anyways, got the valve on the short side, got the long side over here. One thing I did not tell you guys real quick, and I've already done this, it's just habit for me. I don't know if you guys know how a light socket works, but the middle is always hot and the sides are always ground. So we need to check our switch and check our circuit to make sure that everything's good. Otherwise, you got to rip it apart again. So got it on my hot, and we're good. Center here, and we're good. Go to the ground. No switch involved, and we're good. So now we know that our electrical is good. Everything is good here. Now is a good time to do touch-up paint if that's what you want to do. I'm going to have to do a little bit because I had to use a pipe wrench on the bottom one. But anyways, so now we are ready for the spigot part of this. And this is going to be easy but a pain in the ass at the same time, because we have to completely unravel all 30 feet of this, and you have to feed it backwards through here, which is real fun. So anyways, we'll get it through, and then we can get it screwed on, and then we'll put the bottle part on. We're getting closer. Okay, so that took a minute, but that's okay. I mean, when you're dealing with this, and it's just a pain in the ass, but whatever. And what I did too is I actually turned them on. That way it helped me, because I literally have these strung out halfway across my house. Also, I thought I had a 30-foot piece. This one is actually 66 feet, which is fine because I'm not going to rewire everything. You can go 10 foot, you can go as long as you want, whatever your heart desires on these lamps. And actually, for what I'm doing, it'll probably make a little sense. So the idea that I have on this is I want it to appear like there's a thick stream pouring into the bottle, and I'm going to have a couple splashes coming out at the same time. But I also want the bottom of the bottle lit so that the picture on the inside, I'll show you. Remember, it has a picture on the inside, so I want the bottom lit up really good. I want the picture so you can see it, but I want a heavy stream coming inside here. and it'll just give it a really cool creative appearance. So the way that I'm going to have to do that is going to take, I don't know, a foot or so, and I'm going to fold it into itself. And this is very time consuming. I'm not going to sit here and have you guys suffer through all this, but I just wanted to show you that you can put these wires together and of course make them to where they light up. You know, it's not exact. There's no exact science with this whatsoever. Anyways, so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep overlapping it and overlapping it and wrapping it and overlapping it until I get a nice thick stream that I like. And then I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to shove it into the bottle. So be right back. All right, I got my stream thickness down, and all I did was wrap and keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. But now it's nice and thick, and I like it. I want to point out a couple things. One, this is a little bit longer. It's about 4 inches longer. I actually shoved it down the pipe. That way, when you look into the pipe, it's actually lit up. It looks like this is coming out all together all the time, right? So, but another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get my hot glue gun, and I'm just going to throw some glue down into here. That way this never comes out. Another thing I want to point out is on my wrapping, I stopped about right here. And the reason for that is because I want to make it look like it's splashing as it's filling in the bottle, if that makes any sense. Again, these are just my ideas. You can come up with anything that you want. It'll still be pretty damn cool, I have no doubt. So I'm going to get this glued, and then I'm going to make my splash marks. We'll throw our bottle up here, and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, I got it glued in place. It ain't going anywhere. I like it. You see how I have it only wrapped halfway. The lighting in here really sucks, so I apologize for that. Anyways, now you can get your bottle, you can test fit, and you see what's going on. So just going to throw it in here like so. Put it in place, right? Now, I have this out here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some loops and stuff a little down in there, and then make another loop and do that, I don't know, several times. I'm going to go all the way around the bottle. That way, like I said, you know, it's going to give it the appearance that it's filling, but as it's filling, it's going to splash. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got just a couple splashes here. Again, the cool thing about this stuff is you can bend it, twist it, you can do whatever you want, form it however you want, and it'll still look pretty cool when it's lit up. I don't want to light it up for everybody until it's done. But anyways, so now I'm going to take the other end of this, and I'm going to start shoving it down my bottle. That gets a little tricky. What I usually use is like a wood spoon, a cooking spoon, and I just sit there and I keep forcing it down there and forcing it down there and moving it. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you'll see as you try it. So be right back. Okay, my camera sucks, but you can see the picture right through it. And my splash stuff, you really can't tell with the lighting and the shitty laptop that I have, but you get the point, you get the hint. So now it's just a matter of doing some finishing details on this thing. One of them is bulbs. Now I would recommend, I don't know, I always use the old rustic style bulbs, but something short would probably work because don't want to interfere with the valve. And then I went ahead and I got this that you can't see because of my shitty camera and the lighting and everything else. But anyways, this is just a pull, and I got this so that it kind of matches the bottle. Now another touch that I'm going to do here, it's not done. I'm going to actually take and glue the bottom of this bottle to the metal, and I'm I'm going to use a lot of glue because obviously I don't want it to come off, but I got to do it, you know, kind of careful. Another thing you can do is Velcro, just so it doesn't get knocked off. I mean, it's pretty stable already because this is holding it, but you want to hold the bottom. And I'm going to be traveling with this thing, and especially if you guys are going to build them to sell them, you're going to have to ship them. So you need to make sure that it don't move. Another thing that I had in mind was actually building a wire cage, just a little bit up, just so it don't move, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and do these things, and I'll show you the end result, and then you guys can make one and show me. I want to see what you guys come up with. So. All right, guys, there you go. That's step by step on how to build a lamp. Sorry the video quality sucked. And like I said, I'm pretty new to this, but I thought I'd show everybody how I make these lamps. Get a lot of interest. So I'd love to hear your comments. I would also love to see your product and see what you guys come up with. And maybe we can collaborate off of each other. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. If I get enough hits, then I'll do some more. If not, then this will probably be it. But anyways, have a good day.